Well. I heard that. Better? Right on this. So windy. I like that. I know it's noisy, but it adds. It adds to the atmosphere. Into the woodland, looking for a wise one, wise man in the woodland, to the Druid's house, the ancient abode. Turn it down. I know. Never seen it. Like, what does BobCat even look like? Well, he's kind of light, I guess. They used to call me Casper, the ghost. Oh well. Peril at hand, with the Druidess in danger, take it to the healer's house. Oh, shine on, shining we, folk soul memory, folk soul memory. Wise one in the woodland, to the Druid's house we go. To the Druid's house we go. Oh, yes. Time to retune the mandola. Hammered on it earlier. Pretty hard. Okay. The Druid's house. Lou lifted himself cautiously from the ground and looked round. The hilltop was now lit only by the moon, and by it he could see no sign of the headless warrior. Beside him, Ain lifted her head and he moved to her, helping her to sit up. Like himself, she seemed to have been stunned by the explosion, but showed no marks of harm from the flames. "Are you all right?" he asked her. "I'm fine," she assured him, looking round the hilltop in bewilderment. "But what happened to everything else? The warriors, the fire?" "The blast of flames swept them all away," said Lou. "Stakes, heads, and all. No sign they were ever here. There's nothing left but us and the pony and cart." "Where's Gila?" she asked, the anxiety in her voice revealing her concern for the gangly clown. "I'm right here," his voice answered her. Not far away, a familiar tall form heaved upright, dragging a second, smaller figure up with it. "And I've still got myself attached to our witch, that I have." But the being the clown still gripped tightly by the arms was no longer a ragged, sightless hag. Now it was a white-haired, frail-bodied little man whose large head contrasted with a tiny face, whose most striking features were a sharpened jut of a nose and a pointed chin. Around his narrow shoulders hung a long, multi-hued cloak that shone like a shifting rainbow in the darkness. He was still struggling fiercely against the clown's grip, but when Gila saw who it was he held, his face split in a broad grin, and he shook the other lightly, crying with delight, "Fingol! Fingol! It's me! Look at me, man!" The small man stopped his struggles abruptly and peered searchingly up at his opponent. Then his own expressions changed, brightening with surprise and pleasure. "Gila Dakar!" he exclaimed. "It's you! I didn't know in the darkness." "Ain, Lou!" the clown called to them. "This is a friend of mine. Meet Findgol, a high druid of the Tuatha De Danann." The little man bowed to the young pair. Then his expression changed to frowning puzzlement as he examined them more closely. "It's no wonder I took you for Fomor. The lad is in Fomor dress and you all look so ragged. Well worn, too." He turned back to Gila. "What is it that's brought you here?" "We're in sore need of help, Fingol," the clown said sincerely. "My friends and I are hunted by the Fomor, and we've a badly hurt woman in the cart. This was the only place I knew to come for help, if you'll give it." "My old friend, why, of course, Fingol assured him with enthusiasm. "My own arts won't be much help to her, but come with me. My home is very close by. I'll take you there to rest while I fetch our healer. Eat up all of the broth now, you children. Get some strength into yourselves, Fingal insisted with motherly concern. Lou gladly did as he was bidden, for the broth was hot and rich with lamb. He drained the last of it and sat back comfortably on the pile of furs. It was a circular liss of stone that the dragon had liss of stone that the Druid had brought them to. It was a crude and simple dwelling that Fingal had apologized for several times. But mean as it was, it seemed a fine and cozy place to the worn lad. Bright tapestries and furs were hung upon the walls to lessen their stark look and reduce the chill draughts that in rainy ire seemed always to be creeping in. Thick rush mats were scattered upon the packed earth. In a central hearth, a fire blazed against the cool of the night, providing a bit of cheering light as well. It had been many days since Lou had felt this sense of comfort, this sense of home, not since his own had been destroyed. And there was something else that brought even greater comfort to him. Tatia would live. He glanced across the list to where she lay resting in one of the small rooms that surrounded the central one. She lay upon a soft bed while a man bent over her, cleaning and dressing her wound by the light of several tapers. He was Dienkekt, the greatest healer of the day Danons. Fingal had told them before he had rushed to fetch the man. Lou had watched him skillfully and gently examine Tolta and heard with relief his declaration that her amazing strength would ensure her recovery. Now the young man and his friends waited by the fire and talked quietly as he finished his work. You really have been through a great deal, haven't you? Poor babes. Fingal fussed on. He flushed from chagrin with himself. And here I was trying to frighten the life from you. Don't you be feeling badly about that, Gila consoled heartily. I told them there was nothing to fear, nothing to harm us at all. I knew it was the Druid illusions we'd be facing. I should have known that it was you as well. That colorful bit of horror had the mark of your own sly, twisted mind on it. Fingal gave a delighted trill of laughter at that. It was a fine bit of work, wasn't it? And it would have sent you screaming in terror from these mountains too, if you'd been for more. He assured the clown, I'm used to it with great success before. I've used it with great success before. Oh, you should see them scampering away. His tone grew more sober as he added, and it is a good thing for all of us hiding here that such tricks do work, for we've little else to protect us. Get a drink. Fingal is a true master of cunning tricks. He is. Gila told the pair and chuckled at his memories. Why in Tara he caused Brest many a trouble helping the day Danons. Once when the king put a tax on the cow's milk, it was Fingal made 300 cows of wood with pails for udders and used his magic to make them look real. He put black bog stuff in the pails. When Brest came to see them and have them milked before him, it was the bog stuff they squeezed out. Brest took a great drink thinking it was milk. The clown hooted with laughter. The king wasn't the better for it. And he was hot with temper. Gila may praise me, but he was a clever one with tricks himself. The Druid responded warmly. It was by his cleverness that I escaped from Tara when the Fomor came to raid our schools and destroy us. Was many a teacher and artist and bard he saved from them, and many of us hiding safely here owe our lives to him. Lou eyed his odd companion with increased interest. I hadn't realized he was so great a help to you, he said thoughtfully. It was my good fortune to meet him, it seems. Gila is a modest one, said Fingal. He's never even said why he risked himself for us. He's not one of our people, he smiled. At least, I don't think so. No one knows much about Gila. There's little to be told. Clown replied lightly. I'm a simple roving entertainer, searching for ways to keep life lively. And if a man does have reason for what he does, meant for only himself, then what business has anyone else to be prying into them? Right, lad? He gave Lou a mischievous wink. The young man caught his meaning. Though he might have, Gila had never asked the lad questions about his purpose in ire, or showed any curiosity about Ain's presence. Lou owed him the same courtesy. Hold on, let's slow down. Prying or not, I'd still like to know more about you, said a new voice. My poet's instincts tell me there must be some good tales in your adventures. The speaker was a man who had just entered the lists. He was a youngish-looking man, tall and slender like most Daytonans, with fine, blonde hair plaited loosely at his back. His clothing was simple, his cloak of plain dark green wool, but at his neck he wore the intricately patterned golden torque of a filly, the highest rank of a bard. It's Bo Derg, isn't it? Gila greeted him cordially. I've not seen you in some years. Long ones, Gila, the man said, crossing to the fire. Fingal passed word when he fetched Dienkek that you had come here. As he moved closer, Lou examined him more closely. He had a narrow face with a wide brow, high cheekbones and strong chin. Large eyes of a light gray-green were set close to his straight, finely drawn nose. His features might have made him handsome once, but now they were exaggerated by an excessive emaciation that had hollowed the cheeks and thrown the jaw and nose into sharp definition. He stopped by the fire and stood uneasy, his hands kneading one another, his head and eyes moving jerkily as he glanced from one to the other of the group. Seemed charged with some nervous energy that made him vibrate like a harp string stretched too taut. I can see how wary you are. Still, I thought. He hesitated, then tried again, his tone apologetic. You see, we get so little news of the rest of Ire here. I hoped, well, we'll talk with you gladly, Gila said, heartily. Sit with us. Turn to the young pair, Lou, Ain. This is Bo Derg of the Ire's finest bards, and a son to the Dogda himself. The man sat down beside Fingal as he smiled gratefully and looked round at the sleeping Talta and the young pair in a quizzical way. You're none of you Daytonans, are ya? He inquired. Before Lou could reply, Ain quickly spoke. We're visitors to Ire from far away. We were travelers when the Fomor set upon us. Gila rescued us and brought us here. Lou gave her a puzzled look, wondering why she was spinning out such a tale. The Fomor, they're a cruel whip upon all in ire. Bodurg said. The voice of the bard was intense, clear, each word given its own ringing emphasis. It was the voice of one who could enthrall hundreds with vivid pictures, shaped only by his poetry. Now it was sharp with his hatred. Lou's impression of him was of a man whose physical aspects had been wasted away, leaving him frail, almost a wraith, powered only by some inner vitality, too intense for the weakened body to control, showing itself in the voice and in the fevered lights that danced wildly in his eyes. But you've been traveling, he said, the hatred giving way to anxiousness. What have you seen of Ire and Tara, Gila? Have you been there? How does she fare? Tara is as it has been, Gila said vaguely, that it must be worse, as I feared. The bard shook his head sadly. Bad enough that you're reluctant to say. And what about my family? Have you any news of them? They're all well, Bode. Gila assured him. I saw your father and brother there, Lou put in. They seemed healthy, filled with energy and defiance for the Fomor. If he had hoped to gladden the bard with this news, he failed. Bodurg only grew more melancholy. They will never learn. The Fomor will lose patience with them one day, and they'll both die. The last champions will all die, and then the last fires will go out. He stared down into the flames before him. They reflected a red glare from the bright, liquid eyes. His voice grew harsher with his bitterness, each word like a separate heavy blow of a hammer. Drink. Three long years we've been here. 3 long years of cold and wet and hunger and fear. And nothing has happened to change things in that time. No miracles have come. No powers have appeared to aid us. He looked to the old Druid. What about this champion? Vindigold. This champion, your prophecy has said, will lead us to freedom. What of him? Admit that it was just more of your tricks to give us empty hope, while we grow weaker and our chances dwindle away. It was not, the Druid replied with unexpected ferocity. It was not. The prophecy was given through the powers of the 4 cities. I believe it. He will come. Will he? Said Bodurg, smiling warily. Well, if he does, he'll find little enough to lead. He leaned toward the Druid, his voice taking on a note of desperation. Don't you see it yet, Fingol? Don't you see that there is only one chance left to us? To leave Ire, the Druid said, sighing heavily. Bode, your own father would never accept such a choice. My father is of the old ones. Most of us are not. We were raised in a land of peace and beauty, taught to create, to love life, not to destroy it. We were never warriors. The only remnant of that lies in my father and the old champions. Our battle with the Fear Bogs should have proved that, even to them. With all our powers, we were nearly defeated. We had to come back to Ire. Fingal insisted it was our dream. For all of those years in the four cities, it was our only dream. The dream of the sons of Nemed, you mean? I had no memories of this land. My only home was with Danu's people. They've offered us a place with them, and we have accepted it. We should go back and accept it now. If we return to the four cities, we'll never have a place or a life that is our own. The old Druid argued doggedly. And have we those now? Do you really believe we'll have them? Our freedom and possessions have been stripped from us. Our teachers and artists accused of rebellion and exiled or killed until we are denied even the chance to think for ourselves. The physician had finished with Tolta and had crossed the list to stand nearby, listening to this. He was an older man, but large and quite hardy looking. His face was large-featured and craggy, with thick eyebrows bushing out above the sharp blue eyes. Gray hair covered the high domed head in tight waves. Lou had found him to be a brusque, impatient man, and it was clear from the way he glared at Bo Derg that he wasn't pleased with what the bard was saying. You are too quick to give up, he scolded in a deep voice. You are too quick to give up. Stepping forward. Many of the young Daytonons have the will to fight. Your own brother is one of them. The fire of their youth still keeps rebellion alive. The bard answered, it will burn out too. Not if they can be brought together, Diankek said with force. Not if they can be led to fight. Do you still argue that? Boderg said with impatience. Bress will never lead them. He's convinced that placating the Fomor is our only chance. He's ordered the Daytonons to lie down, and we have too. So long as he is king, we'll stay down. At this mention of Bress, Lou opened his mouth to speak, but Ain laid a hand upon his arm. When he looked at her, he saw her mouth a single word, quiet. He held his tongue, not understanding why. That can be changed, Diankek told Bode pointedly. You know there is a way. I know what you believe, but it would do us no good anymore. And it would be madness to try. Dangerous madness. These words stung the old healer. He pulled himself stiffly erect, his expression growing hard in formal tones. He addressed himself to the visitors. Your friend will recover completely, but it will take time and much rest. She'll sleep for some while, and she'll be weak for many days. Don't disturb her. I'll come back to see her tomorrow. Good night. And with that, he shot Boderg a final angry look and stalked from the list. Okay. A faint, weary smile touched the bard's lips. Poor Diankek, another of the old ones still clinging to the dream. I'm one of them too, if you recall, Fingal said sharply, a bit offended himself. I can't go easily up our land either. Oh, I can't easily give up our land either. I want to believe we can still challenge the Fomor. Fingal, be realistic, the bard reasoned. What would we gain if Brest did decide to lead us in rebellion? If we could gather enough strength to defeat the Fomor garrisons, we'd only face those from the island again. The tales of that first defeat brought nightmares to every day Danon child. Even the hardened champions like my father fear the powers dwelling in that tower. Tower, Lou repeated excitedly. A tower of glass. Bodurg turned a curious gaze on the lad. Why, yes. Do you know of it? From the corner of his eye, Lou glimpsed Ain's warning look. Again, he held back the truth he wanted to blurt out, replacing it with a vague reply. Oh, it's just a story we heard in our travels. Something to do with a tower like a great crystal. Magical black ships and warriors dressed all alike in gray. It's more like a story, Bodurg said grimly. It's more than a story. It's all very real. It was those warriors and the powers of that tower which destroyed the fleet of the sons of Nemed long ago. They are leagued with the Fomor then, Lou asked, unable to completely hide the intense interest in his voice. No, lad, not leagued with them. The Fomor power has its very heart and mind in that tower. The warriors who dwell there are the true Fomor themselves. That would be Bala of the Evil Eye. Okay. Next chapter will be Lou's Dilemma. That's chapter 20. You ready? Break. You're like, do a marathon. Yeah. Cool. Sure as the wind blows, there'll be trouble in the undertow. Beware of the eye. It'll burn you with the glare. Sling at the ready. Lou's got it on his belt side. Lou, no. It's gonna go straight through the eye. Out the backside. Yeah. Victory is hand, they say. Blue of the long arm, yeah. into the dreamland. She's a powerful warrior. She can see, oh, maybe a vision to the other world, say, underworld. Cloak her hair, easy on the way, you know. Easy on the way. Easy on the way. Oh, one more time to see. Vision of a folk soul. Shining weed from the crystal cable. Coming easy on the way, you know. Easy on the way. Oh. Heart's flame, seed to reach down deep into the heart and soul, singing from the heart deep down, heart and soul to say it. Feel deep down, on the side of the mountain.